of your evening on a Monday, the first day back at work, to join us. So thanks for that. I appreciate you. So tonight we're talking about a financial detox. We're going to be bringing on our amazing guest, who's actually a member at the Brook Place where we go. But first things first, I just want to thank Apostle Oscar Guabadier and his beautiful wife, Pastor Triumph, for being so forward thinking in our church that they're allowing us to do things like this in the community. So our remit with the Brook Freedom Network is to transform people's minds, make a change about the way we think about money, upgrade our aspirations in the community, so that instead of giving a fish, we're teaching you how to fish. Somebody had to teach me. I wasn't born learning, knowing about money. I had to learn that. And it takes time. And so did our amazing guest who's coming on shortly. So what I want to do right now is run through some plans that we have for February. So today we're launching our Money Mindset Month. And so every single Monday in February, at 7 p.m. right here on social media, we will be having on amazing guests, such as our very own Coach Debs. She'll be discussing money mindset, escaping debt, and embracing wealth. And Coach Debs is a member of the Brook Place. Yeah, Brook Place. We've got some powerful people in the house. And Coach Debs is from an organization called Bethel Project. Then that's on the 5th of February. And then on the 12th, we've got a wonderful Chiesa Silveira de Souza. What an amazing name. He sounds like a king, right? Well, he is. He's king of business, and he belongs in the Brook Place. And that's where you'll find him every Sunday. And he's from a company called The Generalist. And he will be giving us tips on creating income streams, which is key to financial success. And he will be teaching us about business startups. So those of you that have just started or about to start or are in business and are actually stuck and may want to review some stuff, Chiesa will be coming back on the 12th of February to teach us all about that. I'm looking forward to that because I run 6 businesses, so I need that. Okay, so on Monday the 19th, we will have the award-winning business coach, Janice Beckles, a personal long-time friend of mine. And she's from a company called B Consultancy. She's won many awards for what she does. And she will be teaching us cash flow strategies for prosperity in both business and personal finances. And I'm looking forward to that. And then the finale, wow, on Monday the 26th, we're going to have some big guns in the house. We're going to have our very own Pastor Triumph Guabadier. We're going to have Pastor Nicola Araimi from the Light London Church in Stratford. We're going to have Delicia Egbo, and she is from Light London as well, and she works in the Bible Brook team. And the theme of that, and myself, of course, and the theme of that is, what does the Bible actually say about money? We need to know, what does the Bible say about money and about wealth? And we're going to be hashing it out on a panel, and you'll be able to send in your questions beforehand, because we're going to be posting the Slido link for that week, a week before, so that you should get your questions in. Now, questions for tonight. In the back, we have got the lovely Violet, who is part of our business team, and she will be collating all of your questions. Please put your questions in the chat on both YouTube and on Facebook, and she will collate those. So again, today's live is entitled Financial Detox: Unlocking Your Hidden Wealth and Releasing Your Money Mojo. Okay, so our guest, Chiesa will be with us shortly. But first, we're going to jump right in. And I'm going to ask Violet if she can please put up the link to our Transforming Your Relationship with Money in the chat on all the social medias, so that you will be able to go to that course later on. It's important to understand the friend in your pocket. Money should be your friend, not your enemy. And the thing is, when you're in debt, money becomes your enemy, and you start having the wrong mindsets about your friend. Just imagine having a best friend, and then you start thinking bad thoughts about your best friend. Okay, so there's a knock on the door. You, rather than open your front door, you run and hide. Been there, did that, done that years ago in my 20s. And/or bills come in and you just leave them, in a pile, because you know that they're bills and you haven't got the money to pay them. We are going to change that mindset so that you start loving your money in the pocket, not loving it above God, but loving it, respecting money, because money actually has a spirit attached to it. And if you don't know how to control the money, then the money will control you. And that's a matter of fact, right? I've experienced that money will control you if you don't learn how to control it. So one of the ways of controlling money is by conducting a financial detox, which is what this evening is about. And basically, it's an assessment at the beginning of the year. Now, my husband and I will do it quarterly if we get time, but definitely twice a year, right? So, and the more often you do it, the more on track you stay. Yeah. And so it helps you it's a smart move that helps you to keep your money moves and your money mojo on track. It's really important to financial success. Now, what is a financial detox? Now, I went and looked up what it actually means, the definition. So let me read this for you. A financial detox is a metaphorical term used to describe a systematic and intentional process of cleaning up, reorganizing, and improving one's financial situation. Similar to a detox that you will do in health and wellness, a financial detox involves eliminating unhealthy financial habits, reducing unnecessary expenses, and adopting positive financial behaviors. The goal really is to achieve a healthier and sustainable financial state. Now, how many of you know that being in debt is stressful? It causes stress. Sometimes it affects your health. It affects your well-being. It affects your mental health. It affects your ability to give tithes, offering, gifts in the community. It just forms a dark cloud over your head. And tonight, our guest, Chiesa, is going to be dealing with that. Now, I'm going to deal with the financial detox side of it. And I had asked you to bring along 3 months or 6 months worth of your bank statements. And the reason being is, even as I'm talking, I would like you to highlight the things in your statement that you did not actually need to spend. So stuff you bought that you didn't need, right? Women, you may have bought extra shoes because it looks so good, right? I got a whole, oh my God, Imelda Marcos has nothing on me. I got a whole 2 cupboards full of shoes. Some of them I don't even get time to wear, right? So we need to eliminate stuff like that. And if you've done that, get yourself an eBay account and sell off some of the stuff and scrape some of that money in. So going through your bank statement is important. Now, I went through ours, my husband and I, and because we own several properties, we actually and we don't do our properties just to one family. So we do something called HMOs, houses of multiple occupancy. So you buy a house that's got maybe 6 bedrooms and you turn it into 6 separate or 8 separate, if it's got living rooms, income streams. So that means I've got to provide all of the white goods. I've got to provide everything that's in the communal areas. So you can imagine, as a landlord, landlady, I don't want things happening like customers ringing me, tenants ringing me up about, oh, the fridge is broken, oh, that's broken down, oh, the microwave is gone, whatever. So I have domestic and general insurances on all of this. You know, when you go to Argos, when you go to AO.com or any of those, you know, Currys, they offer you insurances. So sometimes what will happen is that something gets broken. I forget because I'm busy to cancel the direct debit for that monthly thing. You know, most of them are like £3 a month, £4 a month. They're small amounts. So I will forget or whatever, and then they're running, but the item has been changed and I've given the tenants a new item. So I went through my bank statement at the beginning of January and was able to cancel a load of stuff. And actually, Domestic and General was so good to refund some of those payments. They didn't have to, but I'm a big customer for them, so they listen, right? So things like that. So you go to the gym, but you don't use it regularly. Most gyms now are doing a shorter membership. So rather than signing up for the year or even 6 months, you can pay as you go. Now, pay as you go sometimes is a few pounds more. But if you buy the whole job lot, a year's worth, and then you're not using it, you're actually paying more per session anyway. So look through your bank statement. I haven't got time to go through the whole lot, but later on we will put it on the Brook Freedom Network. There's a free blog on there called BFN Blogs. Anyone could go in there and sign up for that free blog, and we will put all of these little tidbits in there and little tips there. Now, understanding your money, what it is, why it is, and what's behind money, how they came up with the notes and so forth, the history of it is really important. I tell you, it blew my mind when I went on a course years and years ago in my 20s to learn about the history of money. It actually made me understand it better and use it better. So, and there is a short course, and I'm sure Violet's already put this up on the brookfreedomnetwork.com. That's called Transforming Your Relationship with Money. And I implore you all to go on there and have a look at that. Now, we're going to run through the steps of the review. And again, later on, we'll put it in the blog for you. So start doing a financial detox. Start by revisiting your financial goals. Have you set any goals? You know, starting the year off without actually having a roadmap to your financial success is actually setting yourself up to fail, right? And, you know, just as much as if you got in the car and you needed to drive from Surrey down to East London the way I have to each Sunday, then and I didn't put the sat nav on, or, you know, I've lost my mind and forgotten the route, whatever, you know, and you don't have a map, then I'm not going to get to church. You need to know what your salary is, what you've got coming in, what your bonuses are likely to be. In reality, don't put extra things that you may not be able to do. So don't put down you're going to do all the extra shifts that your employer sends. I nearly said God sends, that your employer sends, and then find that you're making you too tired. So be realistic about the money that you've coming in. Any freelance work you can do. Any books you can write and sell, right? And we actually have a course on writing books on the Brook Freedom Network. Any other sources of income. So if you're on benefits, that's a source of income. And those of you that are in my church and you are not paying tithes because you're on benefits, bad. Every money that comes into your hand, right, is a source, whether it be on benefits or whether it be selling something on eBay. Everything is a source, and you should be giving out of that source. Those of you that are on here that are not yet tithe payers, because maybe you're not Christians, welcome. But you can also give back to your communities. The Bible is big on giving. Everything in the Bible. In fact, there are people like Richard Branson. I've met him several times. He's a lovely guy. I don't even know if he is a Christian, but one of the things that he says that's made his life successful is that he is big on giving. Giving is important. So even if you don't pay tithes, you should give back to your community. Track your expenses. And I know that Chiesa, our guest, has got an amazing tool that he's going to be sharing with you in about 10 minutes. Review your bank and credit card statements. Review the amount of interest you're paying. Pay down on your debts. Review your rent and your utilities. Did you know that you can actually negotiate with your utility companies? And if they don't want to negotiate, jump ship. Right? But I do that regularly with Netflix, Sky, all of those things, right? The other day I did it with my water company for one of my houses. I reviewed it. I told them I'm a big customer for you because I've got about 3 houses on your books, and they actually reduced the amount that I pay. That was amazing. I didn't even expect them to, but they did, right? Look at your groceries and your entertainment, right? We all will go into Tesco's, and at the till, we are hoodwinked into buy 2, get 1 free, blah, blah, blah. And they put the chocolates and the sweets and all the things that we comfort eat with at the tills. And then if you've got children, we've got the children picking things up, dropping them in the basket. I have 5 sons. When they were little, been there, done that. We've got to be careful with the little things, right? Because the Bible says if we are good stewards of the little things, God will give us the bigger things. But if we can't control the £100 a month or whatever it is that we have, how can we control 1,000? Create a budget. That's Chiesa's bit. He's going to come on and do that with us. Emergency fund. No matter how much in debt you are or how little money you have coming in, you must start learning to save and put aside an emergency fund that you commit not to touch unless the ceiling falls in or you break your leg and you can't go to work or whatever the reason. You have got to have an emergency fund and decide not to touch it. If you want an emergency fund, check with your bank, because a lot of them now are doing accounts where you will put the money in and then you can't touch it for 6 months, 3 months, or a year. Yeah, so check on that. Now, debt assessment. This, I'm really big on that. It's really important to list out your debts. But before you do that, you need to learn good debt and bad debt. What do I mean by that? So my husband and I buy properties and other acuities, right? And if I'm going out and I don't know, I'm going to buy a box of diamond rings. I invest in jewelry and I sell it. So if we're going to buy a wholesale, a box of diamond rings, right? Then for me, that's good debt if I buy on my credit card, especially if I'm using my 0-rated credit card. So that means I don't get charged for 30 days and sometimes more, right? So if I'm going to buy that because it's going to bring me income in when I sell it, then it is good debt. If I have a mortgage, it is good debt as long as I'm looking after that mortgage. That means servicing it properly. Yeah, I'm not getting into debt with the mortgage. I'm paying it on time and sometimes beforehand as well, right? So that's good debt. If you buy a car, right, a brand new car straight off the forecourt, it is bad debt. The reason it's bad debt is the minute the wheels touch the road, the price goes down by 1/3 in some instances, depending on what kind of car. Of course, if you're a collector of vintage cars, and I own one, a collector of vintage cars, it's really good investment, actually. If you're a collector of vintage cars, then that's different. If you're buying a used car in good nick, that's slightly different. But if you're buying a brand new car, that's bad debt. You need to check yourself, make sure you can afford it, make sure how you're going to pay for it. A lot of the companies now will do the cars on zero credit. So I bought my car and I bought it on zero credit. Why give them all of my money up front if they're going to give me free credit? It's free money, right? So as long as you're servicing the debt properly and you're not getting yourself into unaffordable debt, or you're not causing your income to be too stretched, then that's good, right? If you're going to buy furniture, again, similar thing. Buy your furniture on zero credit, yeah? And it's not your money, it's their money, right? So when I need stuff, I like old furniture, so I tend to buy old furniture, which is not on any kind of credit. You have to pay up front. But if I'm buying something new from DFS or what any of those companies, then I will do it on a zero thing. I will pay the smallest amount on a zero percentage. And then by the time I need to change my chair in 2 years or whatever, because I've changed my color scheme of my front room or whatever, then I just start all over again with them. And they like that. And actually, those of you that haven't got any credit, it actually makes your credit file look good, because you're seen to pay off your debt and pay it in a timely fashion, right? So having some debts is good in this system, in this country, and in America and in Australia and all of the western side of the world, right? Okay, review your investments. Yeah, it's really important to review your investments. So if you've bought property and you're just kind of remortgaging and doing all of that, and you're not reviewing, well, how many tenants have I had? Have I made any money on that? It was difficult post-COVID to make money on property. I'm not going to lie. But once you have the property, you're earning both ways. You're earning on the tenants and you're earning on the capital, because properties in the UK, that's why it's such an amazing way to invest, goes up every 8 to 10 years. It doubles in price, unless we've had COVID or something crazy like that. Insurance check. Now, I've touched on this a bit. A lot of us have, I'm not by any way, shape or form, actually, and I should have done a disclaimer. I'm going to do it now. We are not financial advisors. We are not, right? We are sharing with you the things that have brought wealth to my family, and Chiesa will be sharing things that's brought wealth to him, right? So we're sharing paths that we've already walked. If you want a financial advisor, then I'll hook you up with my broker. He's amazing, and I've had him for years. Okay, so just drop me a message. Violet will take the message and your contact details, and I'll pass my broker on to you for free. Now, insurance check. Many of us will have various different insurances: life insurance, insurance on our fridge, car insurance, this, that, and that, right? It's important. It's the way that this society is set up, right? You need to review your insurance documents on a yearly basis. Every time the broker sends you a message saying your insurance is coming to an end, don't just take it. Don't just walk into that new contract like a sheep. Right? You're sheep, but you're only supposed to be sheep for God, not in sheep for insurance brokers. Yeah. So they will overcharge you when they realize after 2 years, oh, she's not checking. She's not finding out what the market is saying. So check for yourself. Don't ever trust them. They're in it to make money, just like any normal business. Right. So check up. Pension planning. Right. I was speaking to a young person the other day that actually told me, one, they don't have no family insurance, life insurance, and they've got one child. I was like, what? They also then told me that they apart from their pension at work, they haven't done any pension planning. Again, if you need that, hit me up for my broker. They will help you. All right. Review your subscriptions regularly. So Netflix, Sky, I don't know, BFN, right? All of the subscriptions that you have, things that you pay out regularly, your gym and all of that, review them regularly and find cheaper ones when you're coming to the end of the term. Check your credit report. I am telling you, it is a shocking but true fact that a lot of companies will put you onto the credit report because you miss 1 month or you pay 2 days late. It is wrong, but they will do it, and they will do it, and we don't even know, that they've done it unless you're checking your credit report. Okay, so there is a lot more that I could bring up, but I know that Chiesa has got lots to deliver to us. Set your financial resolutions. At the start of the year, a lot of us will make all sorts of crazy resolutions, but we won't do anything for our finances, and we'll continue to go out and spend crazily, and buy shoes like Imelda Marcus and so forth. But you need to check your, make resolutions, make a roadmap for your finances, and check them. Now I'm going to introduce, sorry I had to rush through that because I want to give my guest a lot of time as what he needs. Now, Chiesa, before we bring him on, is from Southeast London. He is an ex-Lewisham young mayor, and he's a young guy. I'm really proud of him. He's an entrepreneur, a multi-entrepreneur. He's a marketer and an apparel specialist. He embarked on an entrepreneurial journey when he was 16, turning to self-employment after struggling to find a job post-school. He started designing and printing his own t-shirts, and this venture led to a business that generated for him 250,000 in annual sales at the age of 26. This is a guy we want to learn from. Now, Chiesa is leveraging his skills to assist small businesses and founders in lead generation, marketing, and sales as a manager and consultant and coach. And I am so very pleased to say that I have procured Chiesa as a member of the Brook Freedom Network's team. So he's a team member. So he's in there to help our members. When you sign up to the Brook Freedom Network, he will be one of the coaches on there. I will be teaching you investing in stuff, property, jewelry, and all sorts. And Chiesa will be teaching you starting up businesses and stuff like that. Amazing. Bring Chiesa in. Come on, give him a hand. Wonderful. Hey,
everyone.
how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. I'm doing well. I am so pleased the day that you walked into our midst. You're a godsend. And so I'm going to hand over to you right now. But first, one of the things I want to ask you is, how did you start in business at 16?
Yeah, it's a good question. When you leave school, loads of people are getting jobs, and I thought it was not just it was the cool thing to do. I come from a low income background, right? So I thought, okay, I've got this big 3-month long school holiday that I've never had before, and I've always been someone since I was young who likes to keep myself busy. So I figured, okay, it's a good chance for me to get a job because, again, the background I come from, by the time I'd left school, I was already used to not having that much, and I didn't want to burden my family by asking them for money if I can go out and earn it myself. So I discovered entrepreneurship via a seminar I went to with a man called Kunle Oyedeji. His name was Kunle Oyedeji.
Okay.
And I was that weird kid who was sitting in seminars with all the grown-ups who were learning how to become self-employed and stuff like that. And I was like the only 16-year-old there learning, like, how do you get grants? How do you start a business? How do you do all of these things? So I got into it. I started reading books, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, entrepreneurship is where you can really have a lot of freedom. You can learn a skill and turn it into an income stream. So whether or not people want to hire you, no one can stop you. You can kick the door down. And you know, after handing out my CV for, you know, several weeks and realizing that it had my date of birth on it as the current year, I thought, okay, it's no wonder I'm not getting a job because it's a stupid mistake. And I thought I was clever, you know. I printed my CV off on blue paper so that, you know, mine would be noticed on the
Would
pile.
stand out, yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, at that time you got career people, you know, the career advisors in school telling you, you need your CV to stand out and this, that, and the other. So I'll better to stand out if it just looks different. See all the others, right? But yeah, I got into entrepreneurship and I was always very creative. Like I had the benefit of like being quite gifted academically, but also creatively.
Yeah.
So I did good in English, math, science, etc. in school, but I couldn't wait to not have to do that again. But I
That's sad because
also,
I'm a science teacher background.
you know what, you would have loved me because I got an A and an A star in double science and science, but I didn't do it again after that. Like when I went to college and I chose to do a BTech in art and design, and then AS media studies on the side, the teachers were like, you can literally do any course you want. Why would you do that? I waited 11 years to not have to do it, not because it's not good. It's just not what I want to pursue.
Yeah.
So yeah, I stumbled upon it, and you know, doors were shut in my face, and I was just like, you know what? I'm not gonna lie, man. You see all these JD vouchers and you know all these little gift bags that they want to give you when you're a teenager for your work at the youth club or whatever. I was like, I can't eat that. I need money because, listen, quite frankly, I need to learn.
Get his food right.
Yeah, man, I need to learn how to earn, man. I'm a growing lad. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, for my first hustle I was really good at drawing. So I was doing tonal portraits of people. I said, look, give me a favorite picture. I'll draw a picture of you and just give me a $5 for it. That was my first ever hustle. And then I learned music production. And my plan was to make beats and then sell them on the internet. And this is like 2009, 2010. So that was still relatively new at the time.
Yeah.
And then when I started college, started my BTech, I learned how to use Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and then that, you know, my hand drawings turned to digital illustrations, turned into graphics, and then so on and so forth. And then I learned how to print T-shirts. And then I created my own T-shirt design. The first ever T-shirt design I had was the stop symbol with an F behind it, and it said failure prohibited underneath. So I'm printing out one of those.
Stand for?
Failure.
Okay.
So it was my first design was called Failure Prohibited. I actually have that shirt somewhere. I've still got it. And I printed up one for myself, wore it, posted it on Facebook. Who wants one? Whoever wanted one, they sent me their money. I printed it, delivered it to them next week. And that's how my T-shirt career started. And I remember coming home one day and I showed my mom, I was like, oh, I made £80 today. I was like, that's not bad for 16 years old. And that's really where it started for me. I really learned that, you know, traditional employment, there's nothing wrong with it, but relying upon it really isn't the way forward if you want to protect yourself against, you know, other factors that are outside of your control.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurship allows you to be creative. It allows you to have a level of freedom. It lets you develop your character and your skill set in a way that nothing else does.
Yeah.
And there's worse things I could have been doing. You know, I was running up and down the street selling T-shirts. You know, some of my peers were running up and down the street selling other things. And I wasn't doing that. I wasn't looking over my shoulder. So, and I was never really that way inclined. So that's how I got into entrepreneurship. I just, you know, I can turn my creativity into an income. I found that really cool. I was excited by it. And, you know, I was just obsessed with learning how to do it. And everything that I learned in school, college, university, I learned how to take that skill set I was learning in education and turn it into an income live as I was doing it.
Yeah. So audience, did you hear what Chiesa said? One of the things that has resonated with me is that he said he started his hustle, right? A lot of people that I help will tell me, like, for instance, if I'm teaching them a property course or whatever, how to start in property, they'll tell me, oh, I'd love to do that, but I don't have time. Listen, you can reorganize your time if you know out of it, you're going to have a hustle that's going to pay down your debts in the future. That's one. And the second thing that Chiesa just said that is really should be really mind-blowing for you guys, something that I do, is that if I start a new hustle, right, and I own 6 businesses. So if I start a new hustle, I make sure that I don't buy more stock than I can shift straight away. Yeah. So what he was doing was getting his orders first, and then selling it, getting his orders on in a timely fashion on his socials and then selling it. That's what you should be doing. Not going out and printing 100 t-shirts just because the printer tells you if you print in bulk, it's cheaper. Yeah, take a little bit less profit and print as you go along. Now I'm going to hand over the reins. Come on, Chiesa, stare this baby right down. Stare it down.
Great stuff. So I'm going to go down sort of a bullet point list of how my approach to dealing with finances on a personal level. Now, again, I just have to redisclaim, I'm not a finance expert. What I've done here is address the challenge that I had as I was coming up in my career and being self-employed. You know, I have more of a creative background when it comes to, you know, I studied graphic design at university and design management and entrepreneurship, but my finance skills come from having run a business for over a decade. So I had to learn and teach myself and build tools that and frameworks that allow someone like me who's not necessarily finance minded traditionally, so that I could also use these tools in a way that is effective and understandable for me and others who are like me as well. Not all of us went to college, university to do a finance degree. Not everyone is, you know, really privy to using spreadsheets and things like that. I actually taught myself how to do it. So this is for you. Can everyone hear me okay, by the way? Is my sound gone? I just want to make sure that you can hear me. I'm not sure what's happened. Any viewers in the chat, if you could put, okay, you can hear me. All right, it's important because you need to hear this. I'm not going to lie. All right, good. So let me crack on. So first I'll start with your mindset on finances. So for a lot of people, more than we'd like to admit, thinking about your finances can come with anxiety and uncertainty, especially in Britain and especially in London, where there's you step out your front door and your banking app just told you got charged £5 for breathing in oxygen. It can be a lot. But a lot of the anxiety, uncertainty comes through not really having visibility. Oftentimes it's not knowing what's going to happen, or knowing or believing that what's going to happen is going to leave you in the red or leave you in the minus. And then you end up going into a downward spiral. And I say that because I've experienced that. I've experienced not knowing where my next paycheck's coming from, especially as a self-employed person, especially as a founder. I've experienced deals, not coming through that I needed to at the last minute. I've experienced unexpected bills, just like everyone else has. You're on your last £300 and then your phone bill is more than you expected it, or whatever. I've had all of the same experiences that anyone who's dealt with financial problems will deal with. And really, you start to overcome that by dealing with the fact of the matter. Where do you stand? And you also have to have a positive mindset that there is a way through. So if anyone who's watching this today is struggling in any way, it's not going to be like that forever. But it does require you to really understand and face the truth of the matter, and know that there is a way through and that there is support for that as well. That moves on to my next point, knowing where you stand financially. So really, you need to know, all of these three things, right? You need to know what all your bank balances are. So if you've got several personal bank accounts, you should know at any given time what's in those accounts, even if you're in the minus. I did an exercise with a friend a few years ago who, she had some debt that she was owing to her mum and her postgraduate program, and there was another creditor that she had. Sorry, it was actually her bank. So she made minus 2,000 zero in her head with that bank account. So when she opened up to me and she shared it with me, and I said, okay, well, what you've done here is you've accepted minus 2,000 as zero, and then you're using your other two bank accounts like they're normal to make yourself feel better. So you need to treat that minus 2,000 like it's a debt that needs to be paid off, and stop using that account like it's a revolving door. Now, it took me illustrating this to her for her to start to look at it that way. But she did. And 7 months later, she called me up and was like, hey, I'm going to take you out to dinner. I'm debt free. But knowing what the actual balance was, but seeing it for what it is, was a massive step for her. Your monthly payments and their due dates. So really, you should have a list somewhere of all your monthly payments that you're paying out, everything that is coming out, and what day it's coming out. And what day it's coming out. and every category that it's in as well. So at least that way, you just got clarity on what's coming out and when, and it's all written down. I've got a tool that I'm going to share with you on this live as well that will allow you to really see what happens to your money as it goes in and out of your accounts as well. And then in terms of moving on from where you stand, your creditors' balances and payment terms. So if you're owing money to anyone, that could be an individual, it could be a group, it could be an organization, it could be a company, whoever you're owing money to, they're a creditor. Now, the thing is, you don't have to adhere to terms that creditors try to impress on you. There's times that I've been in trouble and I've just picked up the phone and gone, listen, things are hard right now. You're getting £20 a month, and then we can call me back in 3 months. Like, there's no point ringing me right now. I'm figuring it out. And then, you know, glory be to God, eventually sorted those problems out with them. But you just got to be honest and just tell people what it is. But you can't do that without the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is your budget. Because otherwise, if you have those conversations, you will end up telling them what they want to hear or saying whatever sounds good on the moment and then not following through, which is just going to make you feel worse. So the next step, create a budget. I'm going to share my screen. We tested this earlier to make sure it works. So tech team, if we have any issues, then please shout. Let's see. I'm actually going to show you the tool that I use to do this as I'm talking to you. So thumbs up in the chat if you can see my screen. So I know some of you are on your phones, so you might struggle to see on your phone the full details of what I'm sharing. I'll if I have to zoom in, then I will. So no, zoom in, not out. Okay, brilliant. So if you have a budget, what you start to do when you actually set your budget together is you achieve clarity. This is where you start to get to the truth. What do my finances look like? And if you do this for, as Minister Hazel mentioned, if you do this for the last 3 months or the last 6 months, then you're going to see your spending habits. And it's not just numbers on a screen. It's actually a reflection of your behavior, what your relationship to money is. You know, what do you do when you're on your last tenner? I know what I do. I go buy food. That's me. I feel no guilt about buying food ever. That's my behavior. That's the thing that I deal with when it comes to money, when I've struggled with money before. I'm just like, you know what? If I can't eat, I won't be alive. Like, this is my thought process. If I don't eat, then I'm gonna die, and I won't be able to to sort out my financial problems, and it lets everyone down anyway. So I might as well just eat this food, you know. So that's my thing. That's yours might be different to mine. So on this spreadsheet, I actually do this in a way where you can account for at least 3 personal bank accounts, and any transfers you do between them, your money doesn't get lost between it as well. So when you're doing this budget, the problem with doing a budget for just one bank account is it doesn't take into account what's happening elsewhere. So that's why I've created it in this way. I'm going to use the example of Joe Blogs. You know, a very creative name that I've come up with there. So thanks. I'll be taking pats on the back whenever you're ready. And we'll start with bank account 1. So what I usually do is I have a bank account that just collects my income. I have a bank account I pay all my monthly bills out of, and then a bank account just for savings. Just 3 bank accounts. That's it. You know, you might have more, you might have others, but I find that if you keep it as simple as that, you can't really go wrong. If you've only got 2, you can use a bills account as the income account, but it can get messy if you do that. And the reason why is because all your leisurely spending gets tied up with your actual monthly spending that is mandatory, your operating expenses, if you will. And then before you know it, you end up short on bills because you're spending money going on dates or whatever you do in your spare time rather than paying your bills, which is what the money should be for. So first thing you do, for Joe Blogs' example, I've actually written out his monthly expenses and I'm going to plug some of them in. So I'll go to the bills account tab. And then these collapse, right? So you can collapse these fields here into different categories. You've got different categories of your income that's coming in. You've got your earned income, so money from any work that you're doing. or, you know, dividends from any shares that you're holding in any, you know, any particular companies. You've got loans and grants. Now, bear in mind that this is not income. This is money you have to pay back. Your payment terms on that money, you know, you might be paying back over 2 years, 5 years, 8 years, but it's not your money. You've got to pay it back. And usually there's interest on it. So be careful with that. And then any other income, any capital gains, sales of personal goods. So if you're selling stuff on eBay, you know, your old clothes from 5 years ago, you can account for that in this field. Now, Joe Bloggs, his expenses look something like this. He pays £800 a month in rent. His phone bill is £30. His utilities are £70. His internet is £25. His council tax is £90. So there you go. His priority bills stack up there. And you can see these fields up here, they start to move. They start to show us what's going on. Joe pays child maintenance. He's got a child. He pays £200 a month. And then he doesn't use his bills account to pay for food and groceries. He uses his income account because those are costs that fluctuate slightly every month. The income that Joe is accounted for in here is things that are fixed costs every month. Travel, you know, Joe's going to pay £210 for a zone 1 to 4 travel card because he works in central London. All right. If you work in, you know, somewhere else, you know, in the sticks, in the East Midlands or something, your travel costs might be less than that. Joe pays £55 a month in life insurance. He doesn't use a vehicle, so he doesn't have any vehicle costs. But if he did, he'd have all of these costs to account for: his vehicle purchase, insurance, petrol, etc. And if you go gym, you know, Joe might pay £29.99 a month. Whether he goes to the gym or not, I don't know. That's between him and God. And then he might have some housekeeping costs. I use an app called Laundry Heap. Because as much as I have a washing machine at home, sometimes it's easier to just get these guys to do it for me and send it the next day. So you can see what's happening here. You can see how much is coming out every month. Now, for the sake of simplicity, I haven't put this into the specific days of the week that it comes in. So, you know, you guys, when you're doing this for yourself, you can do that, because one of the things you'll have to do is put down what day of the week these expenses come out. There's a version of this sheet where if you end up in the minus, the row turns red. So when you're creating your budget, you know where you're going to start losing money. So that way, that's where visibility starts to come in. So even if you're going to be £50, £200, £300 short based on your current budget that you're doing, at least you know 4 weeks away from it and you can do something about it, rather than getting there and then it just licks you down. Right? We don't want that. Have I been clear so far? Have I bored you, or has this been good? Is this good information? Just put a thumbs up in the comments so that I know that I've got your attention and that I'm adding value, please. Wonderful. So, yeah, once you've done that, and you know, there's a tab for everything. So the way that I've built this tool is, even if you're in debt, every creditor you should be able to list out, unless you've got more than 22 or 23 of them, in which case, you know, to work something else out. But then what would happen is your accounts start to talk to each other. So I've set this spreadsheet up in a way where, let's say Joe works a job, he's on 36 grand a year, right? So his salary, let's say his salary is £3,000 a month. That goes in. And then you can see what his opening balances are going to be. I've set this spreadsheet up where what Joe does is he puts 20% of his income into his savings account, and then he puts 60% of his income into his bills account. Automatically, he does that with any money that comes into his account. That's what he does, and he's strict with it. So Joe, at the end of week 1, month 1, is left with £245 in his account. So that means he's in budget. Joe might want to make some extra cash. So when it comes to his income sources, he might choose to pick up a side hustle, what have you. But based on this example, he's doing all right. You know, he's not in the red. You know, he's got a little bit left over at the end of the month. And he's able to. If you look at his total cash balances in his accounts at the end of the month, they're all here. You can see what's going on here. And you know what this allows him to do? Pay his tithe, confidently. He can pick which account he's going to do that from. It might be from his income account, it might be from his savings account, or however he wants to do it. But Joe can see what's going to happen, and he can also plan for unforeseen eventualities because he has a budget there. And if he's going to be short on cash at some point, he can put measures in place to mitigate those issues. So that's the tool that I'm demonstrating. I hope that's useful. I'm going to continue past this point. Someone's asking if the tool will be available. I'm going to talk about that towards the end of the stream. I'm going to be finishing up shortly. The short answer is yes. But yeah, that's a tool that I built to help me to get visibility on finances, and I've used it to help some of my friends to get their stuff together as well. Okay, so moving on. Once you've got your budget done, you've listed out your monthly expenses, you've got all your debts and obligations, you've got all your income sources, you've listed out your bank balances. Sometimes what can happen is that it turns out you're just going to be in the red, right? And that can be difficult. That can be difficult when you put your income in, you put your expenses there, and you've got barely anything left. If not, you've got less than nothing left. So what do? Well, you take a deep breath, don't panic, have a think, have conversations with people you can trust. There are financial advisors out there. You can join BFN, you can get support from us. You can reach out to charities like Step Change Debt Charity, or you can just start looking at what you can cut. Because what you find is if when you do this analysis on yourself and you put your last 3 to 6 months in, you might find that, like me, I overspend on food, right? When I made that realization, what did I do? I started to cook more indoors. I started using a service called HelloFresh to help me top up, because it saves me time from going to Tesco, doing all the shopping. It's all long, right? They just deliver it to your door once a week, and you get really good meals that cost you between £3 to £5 a meal rather than £15-17 on Uber Eats, right? If I didn't have time to cook, then guess what? I was saying this to someone after church yesterday. One of your aunties, one of your friends, someone around you likes to cook. Just give them 12, 13, 14 pound an hour once a week, 4 hours to come and meal prep you. It's going to cost less than getting Uber Eats. Do the maths on it. Promise you. Most of the time it's going to work out. And guess what? You're enriching someone else. You're creating an economy around people that you know now, because you would have spent the money outside anyway, right? But that's the first thing you can do. You can look at what's going on and then look at where can you save money. A lot of people are driving cars they shouldn't be driving. Like, why are you paying £500 a month for a Mercedes or whatever you're driving when you can sell the car, get some money in the bank, get a cheaper car that you're not paying monthly for, or you're paying far less, and then you've got way more money left and your insurance is less and everything's just blessed. Because who are you impressing with that car? And especially if you're in London, you're in traffic more time. Where are you going? Get rid of it. Cars are messing up people's finances. You don't need it. Get a travel card. It's fine. Don't worry. It's all right. You can get a chariot later in a year or two when you're out of debt. It's cool. But yeah, you once you've done this, plug in. I promise you plug in your last 3 to 6 months, and you actually see what's happened to your finances. You will get visibility. You'll know what your behavior is, and then you can start to think of creative ways to make savings. And if you can't do it on your own, do it with some other people. Do it with people who are on the same journey as you, and go around in a circle and say, all right, cool, this is how you can save. This is because someone, if you're a spender on food and someone else isn't, they're better in that side than you are, then you should get tips from them, and then vice versa. If they're better at saving on travel than you are, you should get tips from that person. So yeah, in terms of adjusting your budget, what is your budget telling you about your relationship to money? We have a course on that. So at the end of this live, we would share the link with you if that's not already been shared. What adjustments can you be made to save? Can you make any cuts? Can you move payment dates? I had an awkward payment date for my rent at home. It was the 15th of the month. I was like, okay, this is weird. I moved it to the 25th. I spoke to my landlord. He was cool with it. I even offered to overpay that month because I could. But if I couldn't, I would have just said to him, bro, like, let's work this out because it works out better for both of us. And then hopefully your new budget puts you in the green. And in terms of negotiating with creditors, call them up. Once you've done your budget, put some money aside for them and just tell them what you can do. And just let them know that's it. That's what I can do right now. And we can review it in a few months. Get support. Lean on family members. Lean on friends. Join BFN, like I said. Contact Step Change Debt Charity if you need to. But then also the next step is increase your income. Because many of you have talents and skills that you're not using and you don't know how to package. But there's definitely something that there's definitely at least 2 to 5 things you're better at doing than I'm better at than me. Some of you are definitely better chefs than I am, better cooks than I am. Some of you are definitely better cleaners, you're better coaches or whatever it is. You have a skill that you're better at doing than 80% of the population. How can you turn that into an additional income without it being too much more work on the side? And eventually maybe even becoming your full-time gig. Maybe you're working a job you're overqualified for. Maybe you're being underpaid right now. Maybe you should be earning 6, 10, 30 grand a year more than you're on. Go get a new job somewhere that pays you what you're worth. Start a side hustle, sell any items you don't need, go to CEX, get rid of all your old computers and your laptops and your cameras. Join affiliate programs. Now, I'm part of affiliate programs where if someone signs up to a tool that's paid on a monthly basis, I get a 15% commission for doing nothing but sending them over there. And then establish and stick to your habits. So create a plan, be accountable to that plan with groups of people, and track your finances religiously. If you're keeping an eye on the truth of the matter, if you're staying accountable, and if you have a plan, then this gets a lot easier. Now, I speak about staying accountable with people that you can trust, and that is very important because you don't want to open up your books to just any and everyone. That's nothing that anyone should be doing and wants to do. If you can find a group of people, wink, wink, that can keep you accountable, where there's a judgment-free zone and there's actually going to be excitement, like the end goal is, achieving a form of financial peace together, no matter where you're at, then that way you can be open, you can be candid, and the metrics are easy. How much is your P&L looking good? Is your balance sheet looking positive? Do you have more cash left at the end of the month than you're used to? Are you starting to feel a lot better about your finances, a lot more confident? These are things that you can do to really get your habits in order. But do those 3 things: create a plan, stay accountable, track your finances, and things should improve. So that's my sharing for today. I think if we've got some time for Q&A, I'm happy to stay on for a little bit and answer any questions. I can't hear you. Okay. I can't hear Minister Hazel, so I'm not sure what's happened on my side.
Okay, it was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. What you have packed into such a short space of time is amazing. Patrick is saying, Hazel, we can't hear you. Patrick, everybody else can hear me now. Yeah, so now one of the things that I want to ask you is, do you think it would be, you mentioned getting together with people that you can be accountable to.
Yeah.
So say, for instance, in an organization like a church, do you think it would be feasible to group together maybe in the departments that you work in or in your clique areas in the church and help each other that way?
It's possible, but I think you need a leader in the group who's going to be the glue of that group, because otherwise life gets at you, and then you miss 1 week and then you're there for the next 2 weeks, then you miss another 2 weeks. And I find that joining some sort of cohort where there's leadership involved works best, because when we were all in school, that's the format that we had, and it works. You've got a teacher that gives you homework, and you got to hand in that homework when it's due. So I think that can work, in individual church groups, so long as someone takes the lead on holding everyone accountable, including themselves, and really, you know, keeping track of everything that's going on, or not everything that's going on, but everyone that's in their group, and, you know, cajoling people as well, following up, like, okay, you know, Shirley hasn't been in the past couple of weeks. I hope everything's okay. So yeah, it can work, but it needs dedication.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, we all get together and we have these praying groups, you know, the watchers in our church and whatever, the praying aunties, the praying mothers, whatever. And we're helping each other by praying for whatever it is that we're asking the Lord, or whatever it is we're trying to overcome. And why not look at your money habits and overcome that together in small groups? That may work with dedication. And then whilst we're waiting for Violet to field us the questions so that I can see them, then the other question is, with your t-shirt business that earned 250K in a year, do you still do that business now? Did you sell the business?
No, I don't do as much of it now. Funny enough, I'm actually on the merch team too now, so I'm using my skills over there. So no, to be honest with you, the story is with that. I did that for quite a while, and I actually experienced a huge, and this is a story for another day, probably my next live. I actually experienced a huge burnout towards the end of it, because I made certain mistakes at that time, which I've since learned from, and I actually used to help other founders to avoid. But I got to a point running that business, because I was a solo founder as well, and I'm in my mid-20s, right? So I'm figuring a lot out on my own, and it turned out that I had to shut that business down.
Right.
Not because I couldn't make money, because I can go and get it. That's part of my makeup. That's part of my DNA. But because I had to take a step back and say, do you know what? I need to look after my mental health now. I need to look after my personal being. I need to, you know, because I can forge fast into the money, and I know I can do it. But what's gonna be the outcome of that if I continue going? So I decided to wind it up and move more into consulting and lean into my other skill sets.
Yeah.
So I do still do a bit of merchandise on the side. I do, you know, I do take on jobs here and there. But what I actually do now is help other startups as a consultant, as what's called a generalist. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. And part of the reason I do that is because, you know, the agency that I work at now, because we can do anything, it means we can do another merch company anyway. It means I can do hospitality. It means I can do like the reach that I have now with what I do is so much bigger. And I think that's a testament to how God worked. Because at the time, when I had to wind it down, I didn't really understand, like, okay, why is this kind of happening? Why is this not working in the way that I would like? But it's because this door opened, where now I work in the hospitality industry, I work in tech, I work in recruitment. Like, no 2 days are the same for me, and it's really exciting. And I get to use all the skills that I've built up over time. I still get to do merch if I want to. If someone has a job for me, then, you know, I can still take it on. One of my clients is another merch company, so I'm still in the game. But the merchandise company I had was really like my live MBA on the field. And that's where I learned a lot of the skills that I have today that I'm able to use and help people like I am now.
Okay, so somebody's asking, do we know anything about IVAs? And yes, I do. And I'm sure that Chiesa does as well. But one of the things that we really need to make sure here on this live is that we don't give you advice other than general things. And the Money Advice Centre in the UK, it's on the government website also, because it's a legal entity. It talks to you about IVAs and what to do. The thing is about IVAs, and also some of the methods that you can write off your debt and all of that, it then holds you for a certain amount of years. And so it means that you can't start a business. If you do one of those, you can't start a business. You can't do anything like that for a certain amount of years. So it's important before you do an IVA that you get some legal support, some framework support from that debt charity that Kieza mentioned, which is Step Charity.
Step Change Debt Charity.
Step Change Charity, that you get some help with that first. Otherwise, you can tie yourself up in red tape. The other thing too is that I want to bring up with you, Kieza, I touched on it earlier, is your credit report. How vital is a credit report in the society that we live in?
Yes, it's extremely important. Again, it comes down to just knowing where you stand, whether it's good or bad. You know, it helps to know, and in a lot of cases, it pays to know where do you stand, what's been on your report that could be affecting you negatively that shouldn't be there as well. Because like you pointed out, sometimes things can end up on your report that, you know, adversely affect it, and it really, it really shouldn't be there. And you shouldn't be intimidated by these agencies. Like they're not the mafia. They're not going to come to your door and put a gun to your head. So if you have awareness of what your credit report is, then you know what to do about it. You know, if you know what your score is, you can see what you have access to in a realm of credit. You can see what actions you need to take. You can see which accounts are on your report that are affecting you, and how they're affecting you, how long they've been affecting you for. And also, you know, depending on what platform you use, and you can see, it's another insight into your behavior, but also you know, your relationship to your money and your circumstances. You know, you might look at your report and say, cool, 2022, when that happened, I remember that this and that happened, and we had the funeral, and that's why that happened at that time. So yeah, I think it's important to stay on top of, again, just to know the facts. Like, money can be a very emotional thing, especially now when your credit report,
if
you're not doing so well, it's not so great. If you're doing well, then it's like, look at me, I'm, you know. But if you just separate your emotions from it and just look at the facts of the matter, that's the first starting point. And knowing your credit report and knowing what's on there is going to be a massive help to getting yourself back on your feet.
Wonderful. Our media team is saying, can everyone put their questions in the chat? So in fact, both Kieza and I can see the questions in the chat. The next question that we have, Kieza, is how to overcome when the business fails for whatever the reason. How to pick yourself back up.
I think a lot of it is a mindset thing. So if you do something, and not just a business, just anything in general that doesn't work out, like, just, it doesn't reflect how valuable you are as a person. You're not worth less. You're not, it doesn't mean you don't deserve to go again. And I also reframe it. I go, okay, what did I learn from the experience? Because anytime I failed at anything, first of all, anytime I failed at anything, I've gone in knowing I could fail and being okay with that. Like, embrace it, because I've failed at more things than most other people are willing to try, and I'm proud of that. Yeah, because it means that I'm going to have less fear as time goes on over certain things, because I've been through that already. And also, it makes you smarter. You start to learn what works and what doesn't, so that you can be a lot more efficient with how you make decisions. You can spot any antagonistic events that might be coming from a mile away rather than from up close. And you know what? You see, when you overcome failure, you can tell some really good stories, and people love stories.
Yes.
You know, I could tell you about 1,000 things that I failed at, and guess what? I'm still alive to tell you about them now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would have felt embarrassed, ashamed, etc. when I went through it. But yeah, the best entrepreneurs that I look up to have had failures that are 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times worse than anything I've gone through. So the bigger the failure you go through, it's a lot of the time it's God setting you up to have a way bigger blessing than whatever you thought you lost. Yeah. And you just have to be faithful through that. And I'm saying that as someone who's, you know, a relatively new believer, who, one thing I did have when I was in the world, I still had a lot of faith that things could work out, and that kept me going. And if you're in entrepreneurship and you're self-employed, you actually need that. You cannot be self-employed without faith. Whatever you have faith in, you know, that's going to be different for different people. But as believers, if you got faith in God, then you should just trust that no matter how low you go, you know, Joseph was sold into slavery and ended up ruling over his brothers and his dad. So if a man can go through that for however many years, then we're not crying about losing a little business here and there. So that's how I look at it. I just look at it as, do you know what did I lose? Why did I lose it? And what did I gain? You often, if you take your emotions out of it, you gain wisdom, you gain
Yes.
knowledge, you gain skills. You probably gained a lot of contacts that you're not valuing. You have a lot of memories, and when you bounce back from that, you will be a light to others, because there's people going through what I've been through in business right now that I know I can help. I can sit down with them and bring some peace to them. I can say to them, listen, you're gonna live. You're gonna wake up tomorrow and breathe in some fresh air again and get to go again. You should be happy about that. So don't take it to heart. Don't take it personally. Don't take failure personally ever. Even if other people are, leave them. It's fine. Just move on. There's other people who waiting
Well
for
said.
it.
And the thing is about failing at a business, what you may think is failing may not be what somebody that's down the ladder chain from you think is failing. So I know businesses such as Richard Branson's businesses, where just before the failure is about to be well known, he sells the business. You see, you need to learn to package either the whole thing or part of it and market it. So you can actually market something that you think you're failing at because maybe you didn't have the right skill sets for it or whatever, and you can package part of it and sell it. You can also sell the skills, sell the acuities in the business. So, the framework of it and stuff like that. So, for instance, Chiesa put up a tool that he's made. Well, there's lots of budgeting tools out there. So you find out what is the unique selling point of the thing that you had in this business that you think was failing, and then you sell off each little part. Right, you look at the parts that you have as assets, because it's not just solid things, bricks and mortar that are assets. You have assets because they're things from your mind, and they are assets.
Your
So we've got another question here.
Just one final thing on that point as well. What you're describing is what I like to call intangible assets, and
yes,
my intangible assets were my skills at the time. I was able to transition from being a founder to being a contractor, and still, setting my own day rates and selling my knowledge, my expertise, and being able to repackage myself in a new domain. Sometimes it's not how hard you're rowing the boat; it's the boat that you're in. If you're in a small boat going like that, then you're only going to go so far. If you're in a bigger boat and you're the captain of it, you're going to go faster. And sometimes that's life's way of telling you, and God's way of telling you, that you're just rowing in the wrong boat right now. You put this same skill set in a different vehicle and you're gone. So,
And also looking at your intangible assets as, as something that is money, an income stream. So for instance, on the BFN, we've done, I am a published author. Many of you don't know, but I am. And one of the things that caused me to be a published author was when I was fostering, and people wanted to know, well, you've got 5 children of your own. How are you managing to foster? How did you win awards doing fostering and blah, blah, blah? And how did you do the Nelson Williams Foundation, working with kids on street? So because I was being asked so many questions, I put it in a book that actually won me an award. So there are things that you have up here that you can put onto paper and sell it, right? And I know Coach Debs is on here. I saw her name flash up, and she's really good at that. Another a published author in the house. Now we have a question from Elizabeth. Where is that question gone? Is it better to pay off bad debt first before saving, e.g. on your emergency funds, your pension, your investments, and so forth?
It really depends. I think you should try and put something away for emergency, regardless of what your debt situation is. So, even if, and that's why it's important to do a budget, because part of what you're putting money aside for in your savings is that rainy day fund. You need it regardless. Your creditors aren't going to die. They'll live. You need to look at it like this. Like, I need to make sure that I'm good so that everyone I owe money to is good.
Yeah.
So I would say that it's important to do both, but how much you're paying is going to vary based on terms, how much pressure you're getting, the amount that you're owing. how long you've owed for. Like, these things are all going to be factors. So it's really got to be on a case-by-case basis. But
Yes.
you definitely want to be putting some money aside towards an emergency fund as soon as you possibly can, regardless of what debts you've got, whether it's good or bad debt. Have something aside, because do you know what? If you're down to your last £1,000 and you need to spend that on, your child having a certain kind of surgery or what have you, what are you going to pick? What's more important, the health of yourself or your child, or the bad debt that you've got to pay? One of them's going to be there tomorrow and one of them might not. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah. I mean, I look at it the same way, but nevertheless, I've always got my eye on my credit report, because the credit report, honestly, guys, it takes 6 whole long years for that to be wiped clean. Yeah, especially any CCJs that you get because you've been taken to court or whatever. So you should always make sure that you jump on it and you negotiate some terms before you get to the situation where you've been taken to court, right? Because it takes 6 long years, and 6 years in this day and age is a whole lifetime. So you got to be really careful with that. Yeah. Okay. Any more questions? Okay, so Chiesa, I'm going to hand over to you because you're going to introduce the BFN discount to everyone.
Yes. So we're really doing a big push to build the BFN community this year, because you get better results when you're part of a community that is all aligned and you have the same or similar goals, when you're with people who are on that same journey with you. So one of the things that Minister Hazel and I spoke about doing this month, or from this month, is different initiatives that will hopefully encourage you to join us, because we don't want to be on this journey alone, and we're creating this for you. And we really want to see people's lives transformed as much as we possibly can. So we've got some discounts for you today. So we're actually doing 20% off of BFN membership for the was it the 7 days that we said?
Yes. So until the next live, which I'm going to explain in a minute.
Yeah. So until the next live, which is next Monday, you can get 20% off BFN membership. You can get membership for a quarter, you can get it for half a year, or you can get it annually. So that's completely up to you. Obviously, the longer the longer your commitment, then the less it works out per month. And that gives you access to our courses. That gives you access to any sort of group sessions and workshops that we're going to be doing as well. We've got a lot in the pipeline that we haven't announced yet, but there've been internal discussions. And it really allows us to start really building that community that we've been pushing forward, because we want members of our church and people beyond our affiliates to improve. So we thought, look, have this discount. This is a gift from us to you. We'd be grateful for you to join. It is limited. Did we say that there's only 10 of these ones?
We did say there's only 10, but I've actually put up 15 of them.
Okay, cool. So Mr. Hazel is being nicer than I am, and given so if you found value in this live, and this is just a taste of what's to come. We've got so many plans. We're really committed to making sure that you've got everything that you need from us to improve in all areas of your life in every way that we can. But we really need a community. We really need you to help us, because we're only 2 people in this live now. You guys really are the people that make it. So that's a gift from us to you. Please join us. There's only 15 that are 20% off now. We're going to be doing 15% off after those run out, and then 10% off after those run out. So 20% off expires on the 4th of Feb. Make sure you get it while you can. And look, if you genuinely can't afford a membership, then have a chat with us privately. I don't mind having a chat with anyone who wants to join but can't afford it. I'm not sure, Mr. Hazel, if you have availability as well. We can't give away everything we're doing for free, but I'll always commit to seeing what can be done within reason, to help people who genuinely want to make that change or make those improvements, but just in a tight spot. And it's not that it will be free even if you're in a tight spot. We know that you still
buy fast food, buy takeout, buy your trainers, buy your tops, buy your t-shirts. So we want you to treat and to learn to treat your education, whether that be learning about finances or how to build a business or how to invest or how to get your mindset right. There's lots of various courses on there. It's not just all about property and finances. We've got courses on there that will help you holistically with building yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
So we need you to take yourself serious and take the things that you need seriously, right?
And
The other thing too is that we are announcing that we have, for the whole of February, we have got Money Mindset Month. Money Mindset Month. It starts next week on the 5th of February with our lovely coach Debs. She's going to come in and she's going to teach us escaping debt and embracing wealth. And we know she's an amazing teacher, so you all need to jump on. In fact, you all need to be sharing the live from now. Violet is going to put it in the chat for you, so you can start sharing it on your social medias and get everyone pumped up about Coach Debs. She is an award-winning author. I think she's amazing. And then on the 12th of February, we're going to have Chiesa back. And Chiesa is actually going to be teaching tips about creating income streams and business startups, helping you with that. And then on the 19th, we're going to have the award-winning business coach, Janice Beckles, and she is going to be sharing cash flow strategies for prosperity in business and personal financing. And then on the 26th, we are going to have the finale. We've got Pastor Triumph Gorbardier. We've got Pastor Nicola Araimi from the Light London Church. We've got Delicia from the Brook Bible Book at Brook Place. And you're going to have me as well, your host. And we are going to be discussing the taboo subject. What does the Bible say about money? Right? Is it all bad? Is it all good? Have we got it all wrong? We're going to be discussing that. We need to get your questions in, and we're going to be posting up a Slido link on our social media so that you can start getting your questions in for each live beforehand. So we're not waiting the way we did today. Okay, so that is us for this evening. Anything you'd like to say, Chiesa?
Yeah, two things. A message from the media team is to just check the chat for the codes. So I know it's been on the screen for a lot of us, but also, check the chat for the codes if you want to take advantage of the offer, and scan the QR code to visit the website if you would like to join. I just really like to emphasize that, look, if you're someone who is, dedicated to making improvements to your life in whichever areas it is, whether it's finance or whatever else, really look at how you invest in those areas that you say you want to improve at. Because one of the things your budget is going to show you is whether you've been doing that or not. And if you don't, then you can't expect the results that you say you want. And this isn't me trying to coerce anyone. This is just a message for those of you who are on the edge, who feel as though, I need to join this, but I'm not sure. Is it going to be worth it? Look, our commitment is that it will be worth it, and we're going to give you everything that we've learned to help us in our own lives. We'll give you all our tools, no holds bar, but it really does take that confidence in yourself to plant a seed that you're certain will make a return. This membership, whatever you're going to spend on it, you're going to make back 10, 100 times, 1,000 times. And it doesn't have to be an investment that puts you out of pocket, that really stings. We've made it so that it's accessible and it's fair, but we really do, and it's affordable. And we really want people who are members of our network to see those transformations, but we need you to take the first step so that you can join us where we're at. So please, if you're on the edge and considering it, just bear it in mind. The results that you say you want in life, what do those results need from you? This is an opportunity for you to get into an environment that is going to allow you to get those results. So please, have a think about it, but act fast if you know that this is for you. If you know that you want to join us, if you want to be part of this community, part of this group, You know, we've got a lot in store for you, and you know, our commitment is to make sure that we give you all that you need that we possibly can.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well said. So we thank you all for joining us on this cold Monday evening. Let's hope that the tips that we shared has warmed your hearts and increased your hope. So bless you. We will see you again right here on social media next week, Monday at 7 p.m. And we are going to share the feedback form in the chat as well. Please look in your social medias for the feedback form. We'd like to hear from you. We'd like to hear what future lives, what you'd like us to be doing and stuff like that. And also how well Chiesa did and how well I did this evening. And I'd just like to thank Violet, who's from the media department, and she's been working tirelessly in the background. Let's big up the background people. Love you all. Bye.
Okay.